When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and last week on our episode, we had the Carissa Sims, and we talked all about healing yourself and really understanding trapped energy and how to move it through your body, and how she had healed herself of cancer. It was just an amazing conversation. And if you had not listened to that one, go back to episode 151. But today on episode 152, we're really going to be discovering your true meaning and the artist in you. So we don't generally have too many artists on the show. I think Debra Lee Murrow is going to be here. She's our first artist that we've had on the show, and she has this unique spin on how she applies art to your life. Even if you're someone like me who says, yeah, I don't draw, I don't color, I just love it because she's always like, you do. There's an artist in you. So she brings the artist out in individuals. We've had her at our Empower and Elevate conference. The ladies just loved being able to go up and color the beautiful art that she had prepared for the conference. She does live conferences where she draws during the conference. So we're going to talk a little bit about all of that in just a minute. But before we get to Debra Lee Murrow, I would like to thank our sponsor of today's show, Beyond Basil Mobile Pizzeria. We're passionate about bringing the authentic flavors of Italy right to your event. Our mobile pizzeria is a culinary adventure on wheels where we craft artisanal pizzas using the finest ingredients and traditional Neapolitan techniques. Whether you're craving a classic margarita or looking to explore one of our unique flavor combinations, our skilled pizziolas are here to create mouthwatering pizzas that will tantalize your taste buds. And then with our commitment to quality and exceptional service, we aim to provide an unforgettable dining experience for every one of your guests. Explore our menu, book us for your next wedding, our event, or follow us on Instagram at Beyond Basil Pizza. Get ready to embark on a pizza journey like no other with Beyond Basil Mobile Pizzeria. You can view our menu and contact us at beyondbasilmobilepizzeria.com. Thank you, Beyond Basil, for being the sponsor of today's show. Okay, now let's get to Debra Lee Murrow. So Debra Lee Murrow is a fine artist specializing in pen and ink. Her art is created using words and phrases mixed together in a color me abstract style to create a larger art piece. She uses art as a springboard for others to find the artists within themselves. She said she feels everyone is born with creativity inside them. They just need a skilled hand to help them uncover it. She teaches and speaks to inspire people to pursue purpose and use graphic recordings to enhance the process. She also uses graphic recording for events, also known as visual note-taking or live sketching. Graphic recording captures key ideas and concepts through a combination of words and images. Debra Lee, welcome to today's podcast episode.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. So fun to be here.
So an artist, where did this begin for you? Was it something way back in the 90s, in the 80s? Tell us, were you always an artist as a little girl, and did you love to draw, or was it really something that you discovered later on for yourself?
Oh, that's a great question. So I always loved art, always loved doing it. Never could really do it well. Didn't really have lessons. Always just, fiddling with things. So life goes on, and I take art in high school. I say, okay, I'm really excited about life. And, I'm more of a doer goer. So art is very quiet, right? So I get a minor in art in college, and don't really think anything about it. So life goes on in my 20s. I get really disillusioned with life in general. I go from job to job to job, not really a lot of goal setting, kind of like going here or there. Then it really came out of a revelation of the power of words. So I started reading and reading and reading. So this gifting of art was given to me by God, but it was nothing what I was doing before.
Mm.
So it's very, very specialized. It was neat. It was a neat journey.
Yeah. So, did you spend your 20s and 30s in art? Were you teaching art? Were you a
Nope.
teacher at a school, or what were you doing during that time?
No. So I went to school for geography and travel tourism because I wanted to travel and I did not want to sit at a desk job. So I did Pan Am for about a year. And then I realized they could force you to work overtime. And I'm like,
Who
okay, I'm not
remembers
having that.
Pan Am? We have to bring note to
Yes.
that. Like Pan Am,
Yep.
there was a movie, Catch Me If You Can, right, with Leonardo DiCaprio. And wasn't it Pan
Yep.
Am? What's the company that he
Like,
was like
could
faking
have
to
been.
be I think the faking being the captain and writing himself his own checks. It was crazy, his own payroll.
Yeah.
So it
Yep.
was nuts.
Remember
What a
that.
great movie. If you haven't seen that, Catch Me If You Can. That was a great movie. So Pan Am, wow,
Yeah.
that brings me back. Woo,
Yeah.
I am old.
Right. Right.
Okay. So
I
Pan
know, me
Am,
too. So
traveling for a
yep,
little
that was
while.
that. Yep. Yep. I was out of college. So I graduated college in 88. And then I didn't have a plan. I just went to the next job. So I landed in a traveling nurse agency, placing nurses all over the country, had a phone job. And that was really important now that I look back, because I don't have an accent. I grew up in New Jersey. I could have a Jersey accent. Then I went to Boston. I could have a Boston accent, but no accent.
Yeah.
So it's rather was interesting. And then I landed in sales, which I would love because there again, I was traveling from client to client and just
Yeah.
really in my element. But then I got to a point where I'm like, okay, I do really well. I get in a job, get to the top, get in a job, get to the top. I'm like, what next? So it was two choices. It was my own business or training, not realizing the gifting that God gave me was teaching. And
Mm.
that's where I realized as an entrepreneur, every time I learned something, I ran to somebody. I'm like, you're never going to guess what? I always had to teach it. I couldn't not teach it. So therefore, that's another anomaly about me. I am a teaching artist. Most artists are just
Mm.
artists, but I have this promotion bug inside of me that I just need to share. So that's kind of where that came from. And then, so late 20s, I read and read and read and read and read and read and read self-improvement books. I was agnostic at the time. And I just read and I said, the Tony Robbins tape a day for 30 days. I'm very dating myself. That was 1997. And I just popped. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? And The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. Let tell you that I bought a case of those books. I would just hand them out to people because I was so liberated. Imagine like
Yeah.
not knowing this stuff, and all of a sudden you're like enlightenment. I'm like, yes, it's pretty cool.
I
Yeah,
think
it
that's
was
a
fun.
perfect segue into what we're talking about today, because what we're talking about today is finding your true meaning, right? And do you hear that a lot? So many people will say, what is my purpose? I'm here on earth, but I really need to find what my purpose is. And this is everybody. This is someone who owns, I have a really good girlfriend of mine, Sherry Sender. She owns several Subways, and is a franchisor for a chiropractic company. And, she says the same thing. What is my purpose? And a lot of people would think, well, you seem to be doing pretty good. You've got a lot going
Right,
on. But there's this
right.
like absence inside of something that's missing. Do you hear this a lot, Deborah? Is that why
A
you've really kind
lot.
of honed in this Color Me art spa and brought this to the forefront to work with individuals on how does
Yep.
the drawing or the sketching or the development of pen on paper, how does that help someone find their true purpose or true meaning?
Well, that is a great question because while I get people to I get them to stop going, stop spinning, calm down. And I just have to show you this brush. This is the brush I ran into, this Japanese calligraphy pen brush. It's like this meditation, moving meditation, but you're not physically moving, but it's helping your mind calm down. And when I can get people in this state, and Betty Edwards in Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, huge turnaround book for me, she calls it R mode. You want to bypass this left critical side, shut it down, and allow people to process through this. So, really, one thing happens. They get to hear the voice of the Lord. Whether it's a Christian teaching that I'm doing or going into a law firm, I get people to calm down, and God has his way, and they'll hear a word. I just got finished with a girl last week. It was in a group setting, and I did a devotion over with experiencing the word of God through art.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, this is the first time I've experienced peace. So we know peace, but do we really experience it? And when you get people to calm down, the life could change.
Mm-hmm.
One word from God can change your life forever. And that's the void. That's the filling, right? We want the Holy Spirit to guide us every day and go. But most people, me in general, because go, 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 I have to force myself to get down. Even when I first started doing this, I get out of bed, they say God first thing. Well, I would get out of bed, go to my art table, and I would do these necklaces on plastic, and I would put the word of God in here somewhere. And that's the other thing that happens when you're writing ever so slowly. What do I have to do when I'm writing creatively? I have to turn the paper, turn the plastic, and then God has a chance. Like we're a radio station, right? And we're getting so much noise from everywhere. So you have to close your doors, spiritual doors, and hone in. And this pen and my art classes give people that settling in their spirit, because it's hard to sit quietly. We know this. We're filled with caffeine and music, and who wants to sit still when we can run? Not
Totally
me.
agree with it. Yeah, because that's where the
Yeah.
endorphins and dopamine and all those amazing things happen. And so I think there's so many individuals that it's very possible, and this was me at one point, that was afraid of the pause
Yes.
because you feel in the pause.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so most people don't realize, but the overworking is a numbing factor to feelings.
Yep. Yep.
Because if I just stay busy and my mind is busy, I'm not really focused on what I'm feeling. And so pausing and feeling is having to sit with an emotion that many people don't want to sit with. But when they say to open up a journal and just sit there with a pen in your hand and whatever comes through, write it down and just start writing. I think it's the same thing of what you're talking about with
Could be.
sitting and, the drawing. So is there like
Yes.
an art to this? Meaning, do you have to have structure to it? Could, the listeners just start sitting and drawing something, whether they know what they're drawing or not drawing? Is there free form to that? What would you say, Debra?
Well, yes. So in the middle of my class, when we get to this part and we start using the pen, I said, don't tell my secret sauce, but it's advanced doodling. How many people are on the phone just going like this, on the side with something, right? Um, so some people can launch and do this, right? Some people need permission. I'm not doing anything. I can't do that. And that's that left critical side. So whenever I start any class, we all say this 3 times together. I'm an artist and I'm creative, because I don't allow, because if we are made in the image and likeness of God, I don't allow you to deny this. Now, how it comes out is up to you, right? We have bakers, we have singers, we have musicians, but there's still that little area in there that I believe in my heart of hearts, just from that book, that everybody can draw and draw well, not to become an artist. Seriously, only to start using the whole brain. So this is art, right? So if you tell me, no, I can't draw, I'm not drawing, I'm just going to go around all my life like this and not use this side of the brain. But all of a sudden, I train a doctor up, I train a lawyer to draw and draw well. all of a sudden his lawyer business gets better. His whatever business gets better because now you're using a whole brain aspect.
Mm.
That's the point. Even if you're the singer or the musician, I still believe you need to learn how to draw. There's something in that clicked for me when I
Yeah.
took that book, because I said, I heard of this book 20 years ago in New York City, and I could have taken it then. So my friend goes, and the author, the granddaughter, went to school with my son. I mean, I
Mhm.
was right there in Tribeca. I could have taken it. And she's like, "Can you draw?" I'm like, "Well, a little bit." And, "Oh, that's just not my thing." As an artist, I said that. "That's just not my thing. I can do other things." But when you start to draw portraits, there's a shift that happens. I was almost going to be in tears in the middle of the class. I'm like, what's
Mm.
happening to me? It was so emotional. And I'm an artist. There was another girl who wasn't going to come back to the class because it's so emotional. It takes
Mm.
that and does something. Now, yeah, and it's a whole different level when you do that. Yeah, it's super neat.
So, I would say a lot of individuals that are listening today that it's really about activating the artist in you, right? So, and it's about
Yes.
activating that side of your brain. And Deborah's showing a lot of visuals and doing a lot of visual things that you're not able to see if you're listening. So you need to go to Colleen Biggs and go to our YouTube channel and subscribe so you can see this podcast. This is podcast number 152. Um, and the reason why I'm saying that is because you're going to want to see the visuals that she's showing you throughout this podcast. But I know for our Empower and Elevate conference, you had created a board that had graphics all over it for the actual event. What was the process? Take us through the process that you went through, and how would you know what to draw, or where to put a line, or
Right.
what you wanted it to represent or feel like for the women that were able to then go and take coloring markers and color around all of those different
Right.
areas to create a beautiful artwork?
So I start with your message, empower, elevate. So I kind of get a feeling of what would that look like in a visual. So that's usually always the center. And that's a good question, because the way my art ended up, it ended up, you can see this one, having open-ended lines.
Mm.
And I didn't realize how important this was, because people will come up and color in the heart or the center of the D, right? But when they come up, they have to make a decision. I'm forcing decision makers. I've had adults and kids say, "I don't like to color your stuff. There's too much decision making." And I was like, "Oh, that's genius." Because right at the get go, my first class is taking cardstock, one of these, everybody gets it, and everybody starts to color. And the first lesson is, I get you to color outside the lines. Literally, you can go straight over this with a chalk, and everybody starts to breathe. That it's the first thing we have to do, because if I can get you to do it here, you could do it here, and all of a sudden in your businesses you could think outside the box and know that I can make a mess and it's okay. We have to make a mess. We can't have everything all Martha Stewart perfect, right?
Yeah,
That's the
well,
first thing.
she also went to prison, so we all see that that
Okay.
wasn't perfect.
That wasn't perfect. That's right. That's
Which
right.
actually helped her create a lot in her life. It was a big
Right.
shift for her. So
Yep.
I think it was
Yep.
tax evasion. I'm not really sure what it was,
I think so. Yeah.
but I mean, look at that,
That's
right?
funny.
So everything
Yeah.
was so perfect, and then it shifted when that happened for her. So I'm glad that you
Yeah.
brought that up, because if you're someone out there that's like, I have do not activate that side of my brain, rarely, right? Or maybe I've
Yeah.
never activated that side of my brain, that you can think of. I love to just sit and color with my grandkids. It's something new that I've not done now in years, right? And so you have
Yeah.
grandkids that are into coloring, and they love to come over and get on the computer and look at what's possible for us to print off for them, and then
Yeah.
sit down with pens and markers and crayons and pencils and color. They just
Yeah.
think it's so much fun. And it does, it like calms you. It really calms you. Because
Yep.
in the moment that I'm coloring, I'm not thinking about work or other things. I'm just decided in that moment I'm going to be present with the child or the children that are there,
Yep.
to be present in coloring and drawing. But you look at kids' drawings when they bring home their artwork from school. They are so creative and do things you would
Yeah.
never even, you're like, what the heck is this? Right? Like when
Yeah.
they make it and you're like, how did they come up? What the heck is this? That's because these children, they have, they're so open on that side of their brain, right? With
Yeah.
make believe and play and their imaginary friends, and they can play with anything and create anything out of whatever's in front of them, right? A tin can and a
Yep.
pen, and they can come up
Yep.
with a game.
Yep.
Where did we lose that? Where did we lose that? Where it just became so serious and we dropped to the other side of our brain constantly. And
Yeah.
do you think that that is what causes like stress and death and all those things in our culture?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I'm in the schools and I have kindergartners knowing how to read. I did not know how to read in kindergarten. I barely knew how to read in first grade. So right there, we're trying to take an structure and we're heavy on the left side. And then it's not valued. If Dad, I want to be a baseball player or an artist, Dad says a baseball player. Right? It's just not valued enough.
Hmm.
And we don't know a lot about it. Still, the brain is so amazing when you
Hmm.
start to dive in. So, traditional school, sitting in those desks, all so quiet and still, like, I want to scream when I go in there. Like, let's get on the floor.
Yeah, I don't know if I've told this story before on the podcast, but in sixth grade, Mr. Bursai was my teacher in Chandler. I went to Erie Elementary. So anyone listening to this that has been in that school as well, you're old like me. And it was my favorite grade because when we walked in the first day, there were no tables. They were all along the side of the wall. We sat on the floor. He did not do traditional textbooks. He taught us everything we needed to learn about the curriculum that year that we were required to learn through plays.
Oh,
So we
wow.
had to have parts, we had to create costumes, we had to create backdrops. We did plays for other classes, but everything that we needed to learn that year was through plays because that's what he
Yeah.
did. It's what he loved. He loved to write plays. And I remember more from that year than any year ever in
Yeah.
school. And he was the hardest teacher that I had to graduate from sixth grade going into middle school and seventh grade. And I just remember crying when I had to leave. And we
Leave. Yeah.
touched base about 12 years ago. We touched
Yeah.
base and went and had, lunch together and talked. And he's still writing plays and still doing what he loves. And I thanked him. I said, I just can't thank you enough for opening up my brain and giving me the opportunity to tap into these other
Yep.
options of my brain that have now just forever been, a picture of what that grade was like for me. And I
Right.
changed
Right. Well, you just said
from that.
picture.
Mm,
We think in pictures. That's why
yeah.
vision boards, right? And when teachers can stop teaching and allow the children to start
Mm,
teaching each other peer to peer, that's what's going to change our system.
yeah.
Like, stop. There should be in there as facilitators,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that so much. And so many people want, even when I'm hired to do retreats or whatever, they want you to go in and teach them something. It's like if I can just create the container for the
Yeah.
magic to happen, which is what you do, you create the container, give them a little
Yep.
direction, and then the magic happens. It really becomes more personal for
Absolutely.
those individuals, and then they're able to accomplish what they need. So tell
Yep.
us,
Mhm.
Deborah, do you have I know you're local in Arizona, like I
Mhm.
am. Do you
Yeah.
travel? Do you do online classes? What does that look
Yeah.
like
Both.
for someone who might want to? I kind of want to dabble in the art a little bit and see what I can
Yeah.
draw and have her teach
Totally.
me a little bit something. How would they do that?
Okay. So I do online classes. I'm in the process of getting my classes on demand, so you can purchase one. So
Oh,
hopefully I,
great.
I tape recorded one the other day. So that's one way. But if you get a group of people together, I can do online Zoom. You can go get your art supplies. or I can mail you a box. And I do travel. I went to Tennessee to graphic record a speaking event. I went to Texas. I went to a retreat in Minnesota, so they can have me physically there. So that's
Nice.
always like, that's a blast, because you get so much in person. Like Zoom is great, but
Yeah.
in person is really good. So, and I have a
Oh, yeah.
Tuesday class. I have a Tuesday class at 10 in North Scottsdale, and we create over what I've graphic recorded on a Sunday, and we review that. And then we dive into Jesus Calling, and we do a devotion through, everybody does an art piece with colored pencil and chalk, only two pieces. And I say it's not an art class, it's experiencing the word of God through art. So that class I'm going to take live weekly online,
Okay.
because that's super easy to get a couple of things. And literally you can do it with a pen or a pencil, because again,
Nice.
it's just getting quiet and focusing on that one piece that you need.
I
Yeah.
love that. So, how can our listeners reach you, Deborah, if they wanted to? I know we have your Facebook links, we have your LinkedIn links,
Yeah.
your YouTube, so they can see a lot of your videos out there.
Yeah.
And that we've also, we also have your email address, and your phone number. So there's a lot of different ways for them to connect with you. I would say
Yeah.
definitely connect with her on LinkedIn or Facebook and DM her for sure.
Yeah. Mhm.
That way she can connect with you directly, or even text her, call her, reach out by via email at color me Debra Lee at gmail. That rhymes at gmail.com. Color me
Yeah.
Debra Lee at gmail.com. You
That's
did that
right.
on
That's right.
purpose, didn't
I
you?
guess, we were all Lees growing up, all my sisters. And I have it, I still have it. We got license plates as kids. And mine said Deborah Lee. And I never used my middle name until I'm like, oh, let me kind of put it in there professionally. And
Yeah.
it just stuck. You know?
Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
great. I love it so much. So you can reach out to Debra Lee at colormedebralee at gmail.com. She has a
Mhm.
link tree as well. But her Facebook, her LinkedIn, or YouTube links are here. DM her directly on one of these so you can connect
Yeah.
with her, get connected on her weekly Zooms that she's doing or lives, so you can see those and connect with her on YouTube. I always love to go on people's, whenever I meet them on their YouTube and see their videos and what they've been up
Yeah.
to. And because you can really get a feel for someone. And I love to start following someone because then I can really see what they're up to. And
Mhm.
I know you're actually out of town coming up for the next March 22nd Empower and Elevate conference. So hopefully November 15th, you can put it on your schedule and block
Yeah.
that date out, because our next one will be November 15th. So by the time they're listening to this, it'll
Nice.
be past March 22nd. We will have
Right.
another successful conference and be working on building the November 15th conference that we
And
have
they're
coming
great.
up. They're so amazing.
Yeah.
So any lady I run into, I was just at a networking last night, and two of the ladies there were like, "Oh yeah, I was at the one in November. I'm going again in March. You got to go. It's so great. It's so much fun. You're going to meet so many great people." And they're like,
Yeah.
"And the swag was amazing." And Deborah had given each one of us, something to draw on, her I am an artist. So hopefully
Yeah.
she'll ship those over to me or get those to me again this time
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that we can put them in the swag bag. So Deborah, maybe I can see you before the conference so we can put them in
Yeah.
the swag bags and have them available for the ladies to be able to color on again and doodle throughout
That's
the
great.
day. But it's been
Yeah.
amazing speaking to you, Deborah.
Hey,
Thank you so
thanks.
much for being a
You're welcome.
guest. And this is about discovering the artist in you. So you've got to wake up that, what'd you say was the right side of the brain, right?
Yep.
You got to wake up
Got
the
it.
right side of the brain and
Right. That's right.
calm yourself down. You don't, I mean, this is all push pull, right? So if we were to
Yep.
calm ourselves down, we could hear so much more about what we're supposed to be doing. And believe me, if you're not on the train already of a higher source or God or universe, right? He's God
Yeah.
to me. He's God to Deborah.
Yeah.
If you are not on the train of the higher source, you're working way too hard. So you got
Right.
to get
Right.
on
It says, yeah, it says rest.
that. Yeah.
I did this series. It's called The Power of Rest, because, he can put, one can put 1,000 angels to flight. Two people can put 10,000. I would rather have them working for me than me running. Right.
Mhm. I
Yeah.
totally get it. That makes total
Yep.
sense. So, Debra Lee, thank you so much. And for all of you out there that are listening, thank you so much for being listeners to our show. We really appreciate your loyalty, and we hope that you share this show with someone else that may need to design their life and hear some of these tips that we give them week after week, to be able to design the life for themselves. And remember, you're the only you that's ever been. You're the
Yep.
only you that will ever be. So this is your
Yep.
lifetime to do these fun things that you've never done before, and it's never too late. So
That's
I
right.
love it when I meet women and men that are just starting new businesses at 50, 60, and 70 to do what it is that they love to do in life. So step
Right.
outside your comfort zone, wake up the right side of your brain, and get creative and get
That's
quiet.
right.
And then maybe you'll really see who the artist in you is.
Totally, totally. So I also have an offer if you want to do that. So
Yeah.
I have a free 20 minutes if you would like to become more creative, if you would like to think outside the box and find your true purpose. Book me on my link tree. So
Okay, great. So we'll make
yeah.
sure that we've got that link in there as well. And
Yeah.
you guys can click on that. Ladies, you can click on that as well. Thank you again, Debra, for being here
You're welcome.
today. And to all
Thank
the
you for having me.
listeners, thank you so much. Don't forget, be you and be strong. Until next
Yay.
time, bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of self-discovery, where you learned the tools to create a life by design. Remember, you are the only you there is, and you are the only you that will ever be. Be you and be strong, because you are brilliant, and the world needs you at your best. We cannot wait for you to join us again next time.